And so I knew then, I was like, if I had one day left to live, I wouldn't teach, but I would sing.
You're going places you've never been before, on top of the charts, and so much more. Hold on tight to all of your dreams. Reach for the stars, they're not as far as they seem. So give a little bit of your heart and soul, whether it's country or rock and roll. You sing about love, sing about the one that you adore. Sing about where home is, what you're looking for.
Let's say we could like walk in if we were just like walking in to have lunch, I could look at you and be like, wop babaloo bop wop bamboo.
Exactly.
What do you say,
You
Joe?
just slide across the floor on the knees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if somebody walked into a restaurant like that? Just
Yeah. That much energy.
yeah, you just walk in and you
It
steal
light
the
it up.
show, right?
Yeah.
That's show business.
You know, the way the world is right now, it's not hard to steal the show with everybody's just so busy and great, just mind on the next dollar bill to make it.
Oh yeah. Well, shoot. I mean, you probably even know as doing podcasts. I mean, you always got to be thinking ahead of what am I going to do next? What's the next creative thing?
Yeah.
What can I do that will make it even better? And I mean, that's the way it is with music as well. It's like,
Mhm.
yeah, especially with content, you're creating content for social media. It's like, oh, golly, you spend a lot of time making this video with this music, and then it's like, all right, now how can I up that and make it better? Like it just never ends.
Yeah. And with content, and it's kind of a new thing. I mean, there's all musicians have always been making music, but it's that era that's changed a lot too. I mean, you got to be focused. So Shelby, my wife, she does streaming, and she's like, I need to get more views and more views, more views. And one day she'll have a ton of them, and then the next day
Hmm.
she'll have like 8 people watching or something.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you got to be on every platform. You got to be on Facebook, Twitter, or X, and then Instagram and LinkedIn, and you got to do a little bit of different
Yeah.
content for each one of them, man. And it just is, but
It's a full-time job.
it is
It
a
is.
full time job. Yeah, and then I seen, we've been trying to, yeah, we were talking about content, but you can't really do anything without taking that in consideration anymore.
Yeah.
The old days of flyers. I used to train fighters, and we'd put the karate tournaments up and stuff. Flyers on people's windshields and
Hmm.
stuff. When's the last time you seen something like that?
I know. Yeah, I actually was thinking about that the other day. For a long time, I used to be in an a cappella group. Well, in college, started out, it was a doo-wop group. I don't know if y'all know what doo-wop is.
Yeah,
1950 street corner symphony, snapping fingers and harmonizing. And so we started off in college for a talent show. We ended up winning, and it just kept growing. And so anyhow, I remember the days of especially local shows when we would do if it was a special like ticketed event. I literally was going out and getting flyers made and then printing them off. And I remember going door to door and like knocking on doors and leaving like a little flyer,
yeah,
being like, check out our show, and then yeah, leaving them on people's windshields. And of course, now you'd probably get thrown in jail if you got
yeah.
caught. They'd be like, "You're vandalizing my property." I mean,
Littering.
crazy how yeah
Yeah,
how the world is. But yeah, shoot, the times have changed.
they
Now you got
have.
to pay for ads on social media.
Yeah, I mean, you can still run your like for you page kind of stuff there, but
Yeah,
but getting out there, getting seen, it makes a difference. I
yeah.
don't know if it's bots or not, but I do a couple promotions for like certain podcasts, and I'll see a huge amount of people view it, but I don't get that many, people come in and actually get subscribers from it. But
Yeah.
I think they say nowadays that the whole subscriber thing is kind of going to the wayside. People want to see how many views you're actually getting,
Oh,
because a lot of people have subscribed, but they'll never come back because they have, people subscribe to so much
yeah,
they don't come back to your page. But if they see those views, then
yeah.
that's where. And of course, I'm talking more along the lines of advertisers and things like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, but
It's a lot. I mean, for me as a musician, like I'm like, I just want to go and sing and make music.
yeah,
But then, I meet so many people that are like, I don't even do the social media deal, and it's like me, I'm trying to be creative, outside of the music part. If I'm trying to promote a show, instead of just being like, hey, here's a picture of me, come to this show. Um, we're talking about Kevin Davis being in the band and stuff. Literally the other day at rehearsal, I said, "Hey guys, I got this idea." I was like, "It's supposed to rain, which may affect the show. People will think if it rains, it's an outside show. Let's not go." So I said, "I got this idea. It's rain or shine for the show." And so I literally was like, "There's a bucket. There's a ladder. I want you on the ladder. I want you to throw the bucket of water on me, Kevin Davis. You're gonna hold the water hose."
I think I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I was like, but it's something different to get people's attention. But yeah, I mean, it's just like, I don't mind doing stuff like that. But I mean, literally, like, social media just wear you out. It's
yep,
like,
absolutely.
but yeah, literally, it's like how many views, and then supposedly you got to post at a certain time of the day, and
Yeah, we get into a lot of that, like when to post, and then we're running behind, trying to hurry up and get one ready to go out.
mhm,
And for like podcasts, it's Monday, Tuesday kind of thing, early morning. Like 6 o'clock.
yeah,
People start driving to work, so those are your prime times, Tuesday and then Wednesday, and then it kind of they say you're wasting your time if you're posting any other time of the week.
wow.
So it's weird. It's just,
And
and who
it's
knows? I mean, it changes.
I say, is it different for like you said, podcast is Monday,
Yeah.
Tuesday, and so I know music when they release music, you do it on typically a Friday.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, see, with podcasting, I don't know if you listen to podcasts much, but like
uh,
most people who listen, like I listen to tons of podcasts, but it's on your way to work kind of thing.
yeah,
People listen to it or while working. So that early morning, Monday, usually Tuesday's really your better one because people's kind of getting in the groove, running late or something on Mondays. But yeah, yeah, at least that's what they say. Who knows though?
mm,
And and then we're on two different platforms there, and YouTube and Spotify. But it's a slow thing, you
yeah,
see. But I seen you had one of your we've been trying to get this together for a while, but you have
we
you got a
have.
crazy
I know.
schedule, man. You are on the go.
I know you
Um,
kept texting. You'd be like, "Here's a little reminder. Want to stay
yeah,
on
a
your
little
radar."
radar,
And I
yeah.
was like, "Crap." And the thing is, because is currently where I'm at. I'm about an hour south of here,
Yeah.
and so I was like, well, I was like, if I go to Paducah, because I was like that. There's the timing, and I was like, all right, well, I want to see if I can like link it together
Put
with
it all
something
together,
else.
yeah.
And so, literally, you texted the other day and said, "Hey, can we, get on the radar?" And then I was like, "Well, I don't know how late you do them," and then it just literally fell together. I was like,
Yeah.
"Perfect,
Yeah.
perfect."
Yeah. For those, yeah, this is probably the latest one we've done, starting around 10, but
Oh,
we will make it work,
yeah,
man. Whatever we got to do. That's why I say that, we got to work around the guests because you guys are coming in here doing this and you might get a little bit of,
yeah,
out there as far as people seeing the podcast, but there's not,
yeah.
you could be home with your family right now. And, this is a big
Yeah,
favor.
no, we all could. So,
Yeah. Right. Right.
yeah, no, I enjoy this stuff,
Yeah.
and plus, it just gives whether it's a fan or a new person, in my mind, it's just different content,
Yeah.
and then it gets to like so we're just sitting here kind of shooting the breeze.
Right.
People get to see a different side of me because they see me. If they come to shows, they may get to talk to me before a little bit or after, but it's just so quick, and then while I'm performing,
Yeah.
that's there's that entity of it. But
Right.
for somebody to be like, wow, we get to actually hear him talk and
Yeah.
you
Get
know
a little personal there. Yeah. Getting in there.
learn some stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you were saying you were looking at my schedule, and
Yeah, your schedule is crazy, man. You're on the road and that's how we kind of met. You were in between gigs, I think, and you stopped in at my shop for a little something I did, worked on your car,
yeah,
briefly and got you back on the road.
oh yeah, crazy. So actually, I remember that was back in like January. We had all that snow and
Yeah,
stuff and ice, and it literally canceled a lot of gigs. And I ended up picking up a gig in Dixon, Tennessee, on the
yeah,
other side of Clarksville. And I was driving. I'd done the gig and was headed home, and I sideswiped another guy's mirror, and literally, it's crazy. I'd like his mirror
yeah.
stuck out a little bit, and mine. So anyhow, I was like, "Oh crap, man! These mirrors are expensive."
Mm,
Found one in a junkyard, and I called Kevin Davis,
right,
and I was
yeah.
like, "Hey, you got a guy?" He goes, "Yeah, I got a guy for that."
Yeah, Kevin's got a guy for everything. He's got a guy for everything,
Mhm.
whether that guy likes it or not.
And then I needed some spark plugs changed,
Yeah,
and he
yeah,
goes, "I got a guy for that." So,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, good
yeah.
stuff. It's good to know people.
It is good. It's good to have a guy. I was looking. I was looking kind of over your website bio, and it talked about your family when you first started out. I think you were
Yeah,
what, you were like 5, and you were
yeah,
wanting to. You seen Back to the Future, wasn't it?
yes.
Yeah,
Michael J. Fox.
yeah.
Yeah, the craziest thing. So I've always been a fan of music ever since I can remember. And matter of fact, I do a show with American Cruise Lines. I do a lot of work for them on the riverboats. Um, and so the show I do, one of the shows is called Jukebox Memories, and it's a 1950s and 60s theme show, which I grew up loving that music.
Hmm.
There's just something about that music that hooked me. Um, and literally, a lot of it went back to when I first watched, well, like Michael J. Fox and Back to the Future. So he goes back to the 1950s. And what I was going to say is when I do that show, I tell this story during that show that I do on those riverboats. And I tell people it's like 5 years old is about the first time I can remember, being hooked on that music. But I watched Michael J. Fox in that movie. Now, I kind of had a hunch he really wasn't singing. But as a kid, you don't really know too much. But I
Hmm.
was looking at that and I was like, that is so cool. Like there was just something about that era, that music. I
Right.
was like, I loved it. It was super cool. Matter of fact, when I had a hard time going to sleep at night, I would just envisioning kind of like a movie in my head that I was living in the 1950s, and next thing I know, I'd be asleep. Counting
That's cool.
sheep never worked for me, but I always wanted to be a singer from that point on. But I was like, I was way too shy.
Yeah.
So if I had to pick a theme song for me to describe my shyness, is either a whole lot of shaking going on or all
Hmm.
shook up. Because you put me in front of people and get me to even think about singing, I'd just be petrified.
Right.
Now you put me in front of my stuffed animals, game over. I
Yeah.
freaking rock it out,
Right.
and I'd sing everything. Back then I had a Walkman. Now you probably too young to know what a Walkman is.
Me, dude. What are you talking about? I
Yeah.
am. Yeah, way before your time. So.
But I'd put this Walkman on and I'd play these cassettes and shoot, it's everything. 50s music, 60. I mean, even Air Supply, man. That was when I was a kid, Air Supply was big.
Hmm.
And I remember I'd grab my mother's tennis racket. Now that was my guitar. And
Yeah.
then her hairbrush was
Hairbrush.
my
I seen that on your
microphone.
website. Yeah.
And so I meant
Tear it up, huh?
specifically, I remember, uh, they had that huge song, Making Love Out of Nothing at All.
Hmm.
So 5, 6, 7, 8 years, I'm sitting there just jamming out, and I'm freaking. Back then, like puberty hadn't come in my life, so I could hit
You didn't
every
even.
note. I
Yeah.
could hit all the
Wow.
notes, and
Yeah.
was like,
I may not have
yeah,
knew what you were singing about, but.
exactly. Oh man, is that not the truth? But
Yeah.
yeah, but for sure. And I remember same thing, country music. I love
Mhm.
country, and I'd listen to Dwight Yoakam a lot. Man, my brother, I'd sit there and I'd be like, I try to sing. You sing along. Well, next thing you know, sometimes we want to emulate the voice we hear, and so I would do that with Dwight Yoakam. Now, have you ever heard of Dwight Yoakam?
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean,
Yeah.
anybody that's heard of him would
Pulling up
know
just in.
would know. You hear that voice, you know who it is.
Mhm.
So I remember listening to whatever song. I think it's Guitars and Cadillacs, and that's it. And I'd be singing along as a little kid, and I'd be like, Guitars, Cadillacs, and
That
I mean,
sounded kind of like a.
my
Yeah.
brother would be like, he's 4 years older than me. He'd holler at me in the other room. What are you doing? Why are you singing like that? And I was
Yeah.
like, because I was like, I like him. And I was like, you don't like it? He's like, no. He's like, it's annoying.
Yeah.
Well, you know, you know how I got back at Big Brother? I kept on doing
Kept
it.
on going.
So yeah, every once in a while on the shows, I'll be like,
Yeah.
I'll
He
throw in
always
some
reminded me of Tom Petty for some. I'm not his
like the
singing, but
country
the way he
version.
looked.
Yeah.
But just the way he looked. He looked like Tom Petty to me,
Mhm.
which isn't a big compliment, but.
Hey, talk about a career. I mean, that fella,
Yeah.
phenomenal acting too.
Yeah. I worked at a shop years ago and in Marion, Kentucky, and you might have scooted through there once or
Hmm.
twice. And that town does not change much over the years. And they had one radio station that's the only station we could pick up, and it was all doo-wop. And at first I was like, hey, this is pretty cool.
Yeah,
But they only had probably a library of maybe 40 songs.
yeah.
So it was doo-wop all day, cycled same songs, my boyfriend's back. And so it was, okay, after a year and a half, I was like, man, I'm ready for something else.
Now
Mm.
it's been bad is I've noticed like with Sirius XM,
Yeah.
so when I drive a lot and I listen, and then I can get in the car the next day and it's like, man, I heard that song yesterday. And I was like, oh, wait, the song after it, it seems like that's the song after I heard yesterday too.
Yeah,
And
they do have kind of a cycle they run
yeah,
through.
but yeah, modern radio is the same. I mean, I know they have program directors that tell the what do you don't call them DJs anymore? What are they called?
I don't know. That's what I.
Radio
Yeah,
personalities.
I guess.
So they're advised or told what to play, but and you hear a lot of that the same stuff over and over and over. It's
Right.
like, oh well, and I'm not knocking any of those guys. I'm just saying,
Yeah, it's
like,
just the way they
it's
got to do
almost
it.
like it gets like pushed at you, like you're gonna end up liking this after you listen to it 4,500 times in a
Right.
month. It's gonna hook up there, and you're gonna
You're
you're
gonna
gonna
start.
love it.
You're gonna start singing it in your head whether you like it or not. Yeah.
Exactly, for sure.
Yeah, back in the doo-wop days, that was the thing though, like with the early guys like Elvis and all those, they to hear their song on the radio
Yeah,
was has that changed or is there what is the is it, I don't I got a guy that works for me and he listens to one radio station every day still, but I
yeah.
can't remember the last time I'm really tuned in a radio, and you don't I don't listen. I just everything's on Pandora or not
Yeah,
Pandora, but Spotify.
Spotify.
I
Yeah,
listen to everything on Spotify and then I don't really listen to radio anymore.
yeah.
How do you is that still a big deal when your album gets on the radio?
It is. Here locally, Willie 102.1
Mm,
plays a tune or two of mine every once in a while. But uh, Calvert City
mhm.
is K95.7, and that's Andy Rudd, who is the host there. And man, he is definitely a Johnathan Len fan, and he's got
Cool.
my music on rotation. So I mean, it is really cool, even at a hometown level like that, hearing your song on the radio, and people will text you, be like, "Hey, I heard your song," and it's like, "That's cool. That is really
Right.
cool."
Mhm.
And I mean, I would say back when I was kind of younger in this business, I was always like, man, I'm gonna do the Opry. I'm gonna make this big record deal, and those aren't bad things to have as goals, but after a while, you have to realize it's like sports or anything. There's only so many great athletes that will make it to that major league spot, and that doesn't mean that the guy playing at AAA or AA. I mean, they play way better than I ever could, but it's
Right.
the same aspect with music as well. There's only room for so many people at that level, but you have to find your niche and find where you're comfortable and realize your success isn't measured by did you get that gold record? Did you get that record label? Did you make it to the Grand Ole Opry? Like I said, those aren't bad things. They're great things,
Right.
but that isn't what will determine if you're successful or not. Um, I look at it as the fact that I used to be an elementary school teacher and resigned from that and have done music now full time for over 10 years.
Yeah,
And
that's
this has been my job. Like people sometimes I still run into people that don't know me and they're like, "So what do you do for a real job?" And I'm like,
yeah.
"This is it.
Yeah.
This is the real job." And 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 a lot of people don't realize, that there's a whole lot more than just showing up at the gig.
Yeah.
You not only you're driving to the gig, you're setting up and you're doing all that, but you rehearse at home. You're doing the writing. You're doing the social media, which we just talked about.
Yeah.
You're making phone calls, like you're constantly doing something. Which it's just the same way with you guys doing your podcast.
Yeah.
There's always say it's not like we just
Sure.
show up and sit down and do our thing.
No, yeah, with us, it's constant. We're editing or we're filming, or we've filmed and edited too much, and we haven't got enough. We ain't got nobody scheduled for the next. Or we'll do 4 or 5 at a row,
Yeah,
and then it's like, man, we haven't done an actual sit down with anybody for a while because when you do that many in a row, 5 is 5 weeks.
yeah,
But then all of a sudden you're like, oh man, I better hit Jonathan see if maybe he'll come in and get one on the books. But
hmm
yeah, so you do. I want to jump back again on like how it all started because you talked
hmm
about when you were younger you really liked you were really into music, but you were shy or bashful. You couldn't really get up in front of people. So I really
yeah.
want to see how that all changed and evolved. But for like right now, are you like a one man thing? Do you handle all your booking and all that, or are you like family help, or how's that work?
For the most part, it's all me, and now I've got a few people. I've got a lady that helps me out and gets me some gigs in Alabama or Eastern Tennessee. Um, but for the most part, I do have an agent that books my American Cruise Line riverboat dates, which that is my biggest employer. So currently, I've done 61 shows with American Cruise Lines this year, and
This year.
this is my fifth season with the company. And so it keeps growing, which is a good thing. But those riverboats, they go anywhere from New Orleans up to Memphis, and then they'll go from Memphis to up to the uh, Twin Cities up in
Mm.
Minneapolis area. They'll go up the Cumberland River. They'll go all the way to Chattanooga, Tennessee. They do Tennessee River. They go the Ohio River. So I mean, there's boats everywhere. Then literally, I'll go down to Florida in January and February and perform as they go along the coast. I mean, they have boats. I couldn't tell you how many different routes these boats go on, but I do have an agent for those. But for the most part, a lot of the stuff that I've booked has just been word of mouth and then just actually sending message. If I can't sleep at night, I'll get on Facebook or Instagram and find venues, and I'll be like, you know what, I'd like to play there. Let me send them some information. But
Yeah.
to think, Joe, back when I was a kid and was so shy, you were asking me like, oh, I'd like to get back to how it all started and how everything changed from you being shy. I tell that story in that '50s show about being shy, and I always say, I was bribed to get my family figured out a way to bribe me out of my shyness when I was 5 years old to get me to sing. And then, I tell that story and I kind of like lead them on. I'll be like, and they bribed me with a woman. And
At
then people
5?
kind of look at me like, what? At 5 years old? And I'm like, and it worked every time. And then I'll be like, so I'll ask somebody in the audience, I'll be like, Joe, how old were you when you started with the ladies? And you'd say, whatever, 15, 16. And I'll be
Right.
like, wow. All right. And then I'll be like, well, you're probably thinking, wow, this Western Kentucky kid's weird starting out at 5 years
5.
old, right? And I'll be like, but Paul Harvey always says, here's the rest of the story,
Right.
right? And I'll say, it was my aunt and uncle that they would bribe me. They'd say, Johnny, if you'll get up in the living room and sing us a song, we'll take you down to the gas station and let you pick out whatever little Debbie cake your heart
Yeah.
desires. And then I say, so at 5 years old, my tongue and lips were all over little Debbie's honey
Oh,
buns.
wow. Yeah.
And then I say, and they were finger licking good too.
Yeah.
But that's all just me being. But I
That's
say
good.
for the show business side of it.
Still.
But you wouldn't believe how many people bring me little Debbie cakes.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah.
I
I
mean, I
would.
love them. I'll eat them. I can't eat them all, but
Yeah.
uh, Christmas time, I love them little Christmas
Yeah.
tree cakes, man.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's a yeah, that's a good one.
But the shyness, honestly, little Debbie cakes, they didn't last. I remember seeing this video of me, Blockbuster video.
Mm.
They did this thing. It was like y- you you went in and they'd be like, if you're ever kidnapped, it's a crazy thing to say, but if you were ever missing or something like that would happen, it was a video and you would give that to the police. And what it was, it would show you, uh, you'd stand there and they'd be like, so what's your name? Tell us your favorite food and different stuff. And in the video, I watched it and I could barely even hear myself because I was like so shy
Right.
just talking to a lady at Blockbuster. So honestly, if we fast forward it, it took from 5 years old is when I had that drive to be a singer. It took all the way till I was 23 to break out of that shyness. And literally, I always wanted to do music, but I kind of just put it on the back burner because I was like, too shy.
Yeah.
Occasionally, I'd go do something like karaoke, but I get nervous. But when I was in junior college, now we had moved when I was a kid, originally from Paducah area over to Southern Illinois, where I graduated high school, went to junior college, went and got my bachelor's degree, became an elementary school teacher. But during junior college, I was 23 years old, and I was in the college choir. So I was like, that's not so bad. I'm getting to sing, but I don't have to do it like in front of everybody by myself. Well, one day the choir director walks in and she says, okay, I have an announcement before class. She said, any men that would like to audition to be a part of an a cappella doo wop group, see me after class. Well, I heard doo wop and I was like, that's 1950s, right?
Right.
So I was like, here's my chance to be like Michael J. Fox from Back to the Future. So I ran up to the choir director. I grabbed the first set of sheet music and I don't know why, because back then I couldn't read that stuff to save my life.
Uh-uh.
But luckily, it was a song from uh, another one of my favorite movies that was a '50s themed movie called Stand By Me.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Yeah.
I can't believe you just said that because
Hey, you like it?
the reason I say that is And I want to interrupt you just slightly
No,
because
you
this is
good.
important because I was getting ready to say the movie Stand By
Hmm.
Me. Gave me goosebumps. So my youngest son, I remarried, and
Yeah.
I've got a 25-year-old, an 18-year-old, and I got an 8-year-old at
Yeah.
home. My 8-year-old, he just the videos and the attention span, and his mom's a streamer, so her attention span. She used to sit down and watch movies with me, and now she can't really sit through a movie. So I've had a hard time getting him to sit through movies. We did ET and different ones,
Yeah.
and it was just me and him last night. That's why I said it was so weird.
Really?
Last night, I said, "Bob, I got a movie for you," and it was Stand By Me, because it
Oh,
was not his age, but a little older. But he was so tuned into that movie
yeah.
and the music and the way those kids, just the way those kids acted. They acted like normal kids.
Hmm.
And he sat there glued to that thing for the whole. I said, "Bud, you knew you just watched you watched the whole movie."
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, I don't know how I did it." And then I said, "Well, you got to go to bed now." But he's like, "Oh no." But
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
that was a great movie with a lot of good music.
Yeah.
And
That's
King, right? Stephen King.
Yep.
yeah,
I
Stephen
believe.
King.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
a
I
big
think
King
the
fan.
Yeah.
book
I
was
haven't gotten
The
to that one
body.
yet, but
The
I'm a big
Body.
King
Yeah,
fan.
that's what it was.
Yeah.
But he loved that movie at
Oh, it's
8 years
great.
old. Last night. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's cool when you said that. But go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't
I
mean to.
was. Yeah. It's just. I mean, crazy how movies like that. You.
I'm a movie buff.
Yeah.
I'm
I
a
think it was
movie
like
buff.
1986 that come out.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what I was going to say is, so when my family would bribe me with the little Debbie cakes, it actually, so they would be like, if you get up and sing us a song in the living room, we'll take you down and get you a little Debbie cake, right? So the song I would always sing, because I'd have to sing a cappella as a kid, and it was always Stand By Me. It was
Hmm.
either that or some Elvis song. But Stand By Me was the one I really remember. So fast forward, when I go up and grab that sheet music when I'm in choir, it was a song from that soundtrack of that same movie, which I knew it didn't matter. I didn't have to know the sheet music at that point. I was like, if I'm gonna sing the
Right.
lead, I can sing every word without even looking at it. Because I mean, in that movie, you had stuff like, well, y'all just
Yeah.
watched it last night. Buddy Holly,
Yeah.
every day. You had the Chordettes who sang Lollipop. You had the
Hmm.
Coasters with Yakety Yak. I mean, we could just go on and on. But this song that was in there was from the Dell Vikings and it was called "Come Go with Me."
Hmm.
And so I was like, oh, I know this. Well, I became the lead singer. There were four of us that made the final cut for that group. Now, the college, since we were put together by the college loved the way we sounded. They encouraged us to be a part of an area talent show. And so we went. The college paid our fee. We ended up winning first place. They put our picture on the front page of the Southern Illinois newspaper, and it said, "Local doo wop group shines bright at area talent show." And I was like, "Dang!" And
Mm.
there I was, like my picture on the front page, and it showed me like in the mode of singing, and we're all dressed the part. And I was like, "Dang!" Like we literally, that's like
Yeah.
Michael J. Fox stuff, right? Like Back to the Future. And so I'm thinking we're gonna get a phone call from somebody big, right? I mean, because this is 2005, so 20 years ago. And I was like, people probably, I mean, people still read a physical newspaper a lot back then. So
Mhm.
I'm like, we're gonna get a phone call from maybe, all right, if I'm gonna be silly, Ed Sullivan, right?
Yeah.
You know who that is?
Yeah. I remember Ed
Okay.
Sullivan.
Well, Ed Sullivan ain't calling 2005, but
Hmm.
literally, my phone rang one day, and I answered it. Now we didn't have caller ID, so I just started asking. She goes, "Is this the Doo Woppers?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am." Now we didn't even have a name for ourselves.
Hmm.
We were called Doo Woppers because that's what we sang. That's just
Right.
what the newspaper called us. And I said, "Yeah, that's us." And she goes, "I've been trying to get a hold of y'all." She goes, "I have a venue that you fellas are going to be a hit at." And I was like, oh. I said, "Wait." So I said, "We didn't have caller ID." So I said, "Are you calling from Branson, Missouri?" She goes, "No." I said, "Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, places where there's like big
Yeah.
entertainment." She said, "No." She goes, "But I would love to tell you the folks here at the Franklin County Nursing Home would love to." So there we go.
Yeah.
That's where I got my start, right?
Yeah.
But and from there it grew. We literally went to that nursing home and we knew three songs and we had to sing 30 minutes. We literally sang them three songs like five times each.
Yeah.
But and it grew. And as mentioned, I went to college, became an elementary school teacher, which I did for 6 years. Still wondering why.
Yeah.
No, teaching wasn't my passion. And we got to the point we kept the group going all through college and going into our professional career that we decided let's make a run with it.
Hmm.
And I knew for myself it was the last year of teaching. It was the first day for teachers to report. So there were no students, and all of us teachers were in the high school or the school gym, and the principal was in there talking to us, and the principal said, "Does anybody know what the school mission statement is?" And everybody's just like, and I remember thinking to myself, I said, I don't know what it is, and I don't care.
Yeah.
And so I knew then. I was like, if I had one day left to live, I wouldn't teach, but I would sing. And
Yeah.
so I was like, I'm gonna finish out this year. Kids come in tomorrow, so literally, like, I need to finish out this year. And so I did. And people looked at me. They said, you crazy? You're gonna give
Right.
up teaching, a full-time job with benefits, retirement
The summer
for
off.
yeah. Oh, now those were nice,
Yeah.
but they're like, you're gonna do all that and take a chance with music. And I said, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I followed the advice of a guy you may have heard of named Ray Charles. And I hit the road, Jack,
Yeah.
and I ain't been back no more, no more, no
Yeah.
more. Actually, I substitute taught kindergarten one time after that and high school one time. And both times
Reaffirmed you made the
I
right
said,
decision.
what the heck? High
Yeah.
school was like, because I taught fourth and fifth grade.
Yeah.
So high school, I was like, and then kindergarten when they were crying, which, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not knocking it, but they were crying. And I said, why? Because he got to be first to get a drink.
Yeah.
What? That's why we're crying?
Yeah. Yeah. That would be tough, man.
Yeah.
So it's say, I guess you guys were called the blend. Is that right?
Yeah. Blend. Hmm.
When did you actually decide to slide across the stage? I caught a little bit of that in your bio. It was because of
Well,
Michael J. Fox.
yeah.
It
It
did.
literally, and, I'd seen so many videos of performers
Mhm.
and things. And so, and actually, as a matter of fact, my mother would take me to concerts all the time, even here in Paducah. Um, I remember going to the Executive Inn and watching concerts, and
Mhm.
then we used to have Paducah Summer Festival, so I would
Yeah, there used to be. I can remember that
oh,
now. Yeah.
phenomenal. We had
Hmm.
so many great things in Paducah with concerts down on the riverfront,
Yeah.
and so that's actually one of my goals. As much as I would say I'd love to be at the Grand Ole Opry, which I would, but for me it would mean a whole lot more to me to be able to put on a show down on the riverfront because that's where I saw so many of my heroes on
Yeah.
that riverfront stage and just
Kind of the inspiration.
hmm
Yeah. Yeah. I could see that too.
yeah.
Do they do that anymore down there? I know there's like some music down there on occasion, but
Yeah. Well, I think 4th of July.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
last year or the year before. I think we went to that. So,
Yeah.
um, when you when you came out of your show, when you seen yourself on that, when was the time you're like, um, okay, I when did you actually come out of that shell, saying being kind of backward, but then you started that group and
Yeah.
you thought, well, we could maybe do something with this, and then your next thing you know, you're sliding across the stage like Elvis and
Yeah.
everybody. Yeah,
The group helped a lot, and especially winning that talent show. But still, I still was as far as me personally. Now it was four of us guys up there, so then I was able to like
blend
blend
in.
in.
Yeah, like with
But
the
then I
name of
was
the
like, as I was doing theater at John A. Logan College, where I was in junior college. So you learn about acting. And so, like, literally, I was like acting the part. So I was like, let me get into this part. And in my mind, I'm playing the part of Michael J. Fox or I'm playing
I
the part of
gotcha.
one of my heroes. But I wasn't being who Johnathan Len really was, right?
Right.
And so, in the meantime, I'd seen shows, like I said, the inspiration for sliding across the stage, whether it came from watching shows as a kid, performers, concerts, watching stuff on TV, or I went to watch shows in Branson. And so I still love to go watch 50s and 60s music themed shows. But watching those uh, definitely was an inspiration. But while I was in junior college, still, the college would do every year they would do some kind of show, whether it was like a big, uh, you know, musical or something like that. Well, one year they did a tribute to rock and roll, and a friend of mine, Heather Barnett, she was like a lead in it, more like an MC lead, and then I was the male MC lead, and so we played off of each other. But that in that show, I had to do a Buddy Holly song,
Mm.
and I literally, and my mother got me this sports jacket, probably from like a Goodwill or something like that, and got me these black border rim glasses. And I loved Buddy Holly so much as a kid. Like his music and just who he was as an artist. And so I was like, all right. And so literally that was the first time I'd done anything on my own. And after I did that, people came up. I mean, I knew when I was performing up there singing, it was Peggy Sue
Hmm.
while I was singing it, and I literally was like, I put everything with shyness to the side, and I was like, this is what I want to do. So I was out at that on that stage, and you just that energy was just amazing, and I was like, this is my home. This is what I want to do. And people would come up to me afterwards and be like, you should go to Branson. You'd be great in Branson to do a show out there, Pigeon Forge. And right then I was like, yeah, this is exactly what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
And that was all around the age of 23. And like I said, I finished the junior college, went to SIU Carbondale, got my bachelor's degree. But I was like, this. I don't know why I'm doing this because this isn't what I want to do.
Yeah. It's so easy to get tangled up, man, and
Hmm.
doing things that, and people, it's almost that. What is that? There's a saying that talks about how men slowly die out of desperation or something along that lines. You
Yeah.
know, where you get into something and you get to a position in life where you luckily, I think, maybe got out at an early enough time in life that you didn't have, huge mortgages
Yes.
and debt, and you get to a point where I think people always live to right where they can afford.
Yeah.
And I've known people that were maybe working out at the plant here at USEC.
Hmm.
And when they closed down, well, these guys were making 50, $60 an hour, several $100,000 a year, and they had boats and houses and mortgages.
Hmm.
And now that job was gone, and they had to try to find another job
To keep
at
up with
that
that.
level.
Yeah.
And it can be a even with what I do at my shop, just trying to keep it going.
Yeah.
It's frustrating, and I love cars, and I've found myself falling away from that now. I kind of turn my head when I see a classic car because and it's not even the cars. It's just sometimes the people that I'm dealing with and stuff really give you got to, finding something you love.
Hmm.
They say, for all the people that could have lived and compared to how many actually get to live,
Yeah.
it's like billion. It's like an insane number.
Hmm.
So we're one of the lucky ones. We got a lottery ticket just being, because out of billions and billions and trillions of people that could have lived, we actually got to do it.
Yeah.
And you're only here for just this little finite matter of time. And to
Yeah.
say, sit down and do something that you literally, some people love being an accountant.
Yeah.
They like it. They wouldn't want to do anything else. But if that's not you, you're
And yeah.
wasting that gift, that gift of time.
Yep.
So yeah,
I agree. Yeah.
I've tried to like, oh, why we do this? I enjoy this. I said we don't make no money at it. I'm going to do it anyways. I enjoy doing it, but
Yeah.
it's like talking. I know a lot of different people, but
I thought y'all was making $1 million off this one tonight.
well, this one maybe, yeah. Since you're here, yeah. Well, it's weird. The ones that I think are gonna, and I enjoy every single guest I've had. I've enjoyed talking to them. I've learned something from all of them.
Yeah.
The ones I think they're gonna do really, a lot of views don't do as many, and some of the others I'm like, wow, people really tuned into that one.
Yeah.
It's odd. You never know what's really gonna hit when.
Yeah.
But
And I think about, you said like getting to really live. Um, I think about that because, when the acapella group, we kept it going for a total of 12 and a half years. And, I basically, I was the old man of the group, I guess you could say, because the other guys, I was the only original guy, is what I'm trying to get at. So from the beginning, I was always the guy that was like, all right, this is our focus. We're gonna go off down this path. Um, and then, if the booking, everything, literally, we went through 13 or 14 different guys. And, after a while, that gets tough. As you know, as a business owner, you got to constantly replace an employee. Well, if you have to train them, it takes time to train them. And then if you're trying to do something new, well, you got to teach them all the old stuff first. And so musically, we had this catalog of music, and then we have all these dance moves, and because we were trying to make it like a show, right?
yeah,
And so it literally, it, it was running a business, because you come home and you're like, all right, here's our paycheck. I got to make sure everybody gets paid X amount of dollars. I got to make sure we have money to record no music, and make sure we have money to pay for this, the van, the equipment. And so you're a business manager, you're a performer, you know, you're a booking agent. It's so much, and so it literally got to where after 2.5 years we were full time. After 10 years, but for 2.5 years we were full time, and we were out 20 days a month, traveling everywhere from Florida to Minnesota, Washington State. And there wasn't anything bad like we had a Yoko Ono that broke the group up. The problem was is we were out 20 days a month,
Right.
and some of the guys had families, and that was very tough on them to be away from home. And so naturally, they wanted to stay home, and it got to the point where I said, I don't want to keep replacing guys. I want to just perform. Now we were blessed during that time. We linked up with a country music entertainer named Ronnie McDowell,
Mm-hmm.
who had big songs like Older Women, Beautiful Lovers, Make Love to You in a New York Minute. And so basically, kind of like Elvis Presley had a backup group called the Jordanaires. That's what we did for Ronnie McDowell. And so during our tenure of a group, we worked with Ronnie on several different shows and traveled around. We did shows out in Kansas, Oklahoma with them. And so we developed a really neat friendship with him. And matter of fact, he called me on Easter one day, and I didn't recognize the number on my cell phone. And so it literally just went to voicemail. And I checked the voicemail a few minutes later, and he said, Jonathan, this is Ronnie McDowell. He said, I just want to let you know I enjoyed having you boys on my show last night. As it was at the Carson Center, and it was him and T. Graham Brown. It was the night before Easter, so there wasn't a lot of people.
Yeah.
But it was still a fun show, and he said, "I really enjoy having you boys on the show." And he said, "All you boys need is a hit, and you'll be on your way." And he said, "I want to help you any way I can." And so ever since that moment, he really had his hands were his arms were wide open to help us.
Yeah.
And so he did as a group. And when the group retired, um, I actually was going to go work in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee at a theater. I had a job lined up there, but I turned that down. Didn't feel right about the contract. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to stay out on the road. And we had a pretty good following with the group Blend. And so I developed a show very similar to what we did with Blend called Jukebox Memories. And so I would bill it as Johnathan Len from Blend,
Mm.
and it'd be the Jukebox Memories show. And so and I'm not gonna lie, literally, it that was a way to humble me very quickly because we had a really good following with Blend. And when I started out on my own, it really was just Jonathan Lynn from Blend. And I remember was in Florida and I'd booked this theater, a theater that had booked Blend many a times, and we had really great turnouts for it. And so the venue had booked me, and they had it marqueed as Jonathan Lynn from Blend. Well, about a week before the show, I think only like 13 tickets had sold, and they called and said, "What do you want to do?" So that's it's like we're talking like a 300 seat theater.
Yeah.
That's gonna be kind of tough. And so I said, let's just revisit this. Let's postpone it. And so at that point, we come up with the idea of a theme show, and that's when I come up with the Jukebox Memories name. But I literally had to mentally back up and be like, all right, you're starting a whole new, basically like a whole new product and a whole new brand.
Right.
You're going to have to build up a new fan base. Now, I had a lot of fans that followed me still from Blend, and that helped out a lot. And one of the greatest things was Ronnie McDowell still being a big help to me. And so I would still go and perform and do shows with him, but he's a great songwriter. And speaking of movies, he wrote my very first single, which lines up perfectly with the movie called The Notebook, which was a Nicholas Sparks novel.
Yeah.
But James Gardner was in that movie, and he played the leading role of a husband who was retelling stories and memories he shared with his wife because she couldn't remember because of a terrible disease called
Yeah.
Alzheimer's. So that song Ronnie McDowell wrote lined up perfectly with that movie. And he said, Jonathan, he said, I want you to record it, and this will be your first single. And it was called You Will Never Leave My Mind. And the crazy thing is, so, I was a school teacher, and when I resigned from teaching, I paid off all my student loans because I didn't want anything hanging over my head. I said,
Mm-hmm.
I want to be clear. Um, so I paid off my car, paid off everything, and I had some money set back for like health insurance and this and that. Well, my savings only had like $3,500 in it. which to me was a lot when that's all you got. It's a
Hmm.
lot, you know. And so Ronnie, he said, Jonathan, he said that I want you to go to this studio in Nashville to record. And I said, okay. Well, I was used to recording around Southern Illinois, and some studios would be by the hour. I said, well, how much is it per hour? And he said, well, it's by the project. And I said, okay. So at this point, he said, I want you to record "You Will Never Leave My Mind," and he said, "Sheet Music," which was another song he wrote. And I said, what's that going to cost me? He said, probably about $3,000.
Cool.
And I was like, three. And, you know, I mean, I don't have money laying around. My savings,
Hmm.
$3,500 in my savings. And I said, so I don't know. I don't know. And I talked to a few of my friends, and literally it boiled down to my friends said, you, you need to take the chance.
Hmm.
You'll never know. And if you don't do this, you'll be kicking yourself. And I said, all right. So I go record the songs, right? All right. So we fast forward. The finished product comes out of the studio, and Ronnie calls me. He after he hears them, and he said, Jonathan, you need to put that on a CD. And he said, put those two songs on a disc, like, and sell it as a single, meaning like a 45 record. You had
Yeah.
A side, B side. He said, but it's on one CD, your two songs. And he said, sell them for $10 a piece. I said, two songs for
Yeah.
$10 a pop. Like, come on, really?
Mhm.
And he said, trust me. And he said, I do it. And I said, but you're Ronnie
Yeah.
McDowell. You
Right.
got that brand. You got that name.
Hmm.
People want your music. He said, the power of the lyric of that song, he said, it'll touch hearts. He said, at least sell 300 copies and make your money back. I was like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
that would be nice. But, you know, I'm not, nah. Okay. To this date,
Hmm.
I've sold over 1,600 copies of that
Wow.
single times
Yeah.
10. So, and I'm not bragging. I'm very blessed. But the thing is, Joe, when I put that song out, it really did. It opened up a whole new world of people. And the crazy thing is I was a dude in my 30s singing about dementia,
Hmm.
but you know, I was able to relate because I had people in my family. But I'm telling you, that song, I wouldn't have a career I'd probably be a guy, and I still do covers. I do a lot of covers. It depends on where I'm at. Some places I do just all my own music, but without that song, I don't even know if I'd still be doing what I'm doing now. I might be working somewhere else like a post office, which nothing wrong with that. But I'm just saying that song is really what kind of pushed me, and that led to another song, and that led to me writing my own music. But I literally took that song, and when I sold those, before so then I start working on other songs, right? Well, in the meantime, he pitched me another song, and he's like, Jonathan, I want you to record this. It's called "I Want My Country Back," and he said it's a double meaning song, but it's, you know, country music's changed. So if you listen to the words, it speaks a lot about Conway Twitty, Loretta Lynn, Patsy Cline, Hank Williams,
Right.
which is what country music, like
Yeah. It began with. Yeah.
the beginning of it, you know, like traditional country music.
Hmm.
And so I recorded that, put it on a single with a song, a Dorothy Moore song. It was a cover called Misty Blue. I always loved that song as a kid. So I did a country bluesy version of it and put that out, sold 500 copies at $10 a piece.
Yeah.
So by this time, I've sold a lot of these singles. And before I even released the full album, I'd already paid for it. So then I released the album. Let's sell over 1,500 copies of the album at $20 a piece. And like I said, I'm not bragging. These are just a huge blessing. But then next thing I know, that's funding the next album, and it's just kind of how it grows, like any business, you know.
Right.
And so, but I had to learn. You had to spend money to make money, and then you got to plan, you know. So
And you had to learn your value. You
yeah,
know, you didn't know your value. You didn't think you could sell
exactly.
2 songs for $10,
Mm-hmm.
and then you found out you could sell 1,600 of the time. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
so that's something, I think we all learn in business. You're like, you got to learn your value
yeah,
and put it out there. To attract that group. I think sometimes it's like if you come in too low on
yeah.
something, they're like, why is he so cheap? You know,
Mm-hmm.
if you would have sold yours for like,
A
a
dollar
buck
or
or
two, but
something,
yeah,
be like, I don't know.
that must suck.
Yeah,
Am I
yeah.
allowed to say suck?
Yeah, you can say whatever you want. They'd be like, I'm gonna waste my time pulling my wallet out for that.
Yeah,
But when you say $10, they go, oh, there's something here. There's something of value, you know.
yeah.
Yeah. So
And when people, it's I'm an independent artist, so an indie artist, but with any artist, when a musician is out performing and they have their own music and they're selling it, and even though I had a friend tell me, he said, "Man, CD sales aren't the way to do. Nobody buys CDs anymore."
mhm,
Okay, I agree. Nobody's at Walmart buying groves of CDs. We see vinyls at Walmart, and we do still see some CDs, but people stream a lot now,
yeah,
and cars don't have CD players. But when I go out and I sell maybe two CDs at that show and four at that show. Well, two plus four is six. And next thing you know, next week you sell five copies. Well, now you're at 11, and it'll just keep building. Over time, you got to
sure,
be patient. So then that's your music getting out there. And then that's something tangible for people to have. So I've recorded two full albums, total now of 30 different songs at that same studio. I recently have released my very first album that I sold out of on CD. I released it as a vinyl just for people to have, something,
something cool.
yeah, something
Yeah,
cool, and and
something.
plus vinyl makes it's coming back.
Yeah,
But but when people invest into an artist like that, I mean, to me it means so much because you think about most people just grab their phone and stream it. They can go to YouTube, they can go to Spotify, Pandora,
hmm
Amazon, but they're like, I want something tangible. I want something in my hand.
yeah,
I still have a CD player. I'll play this while I'm doing this or that, or while I'm
sure.
driving. And plus, then you get
And
something to
sign it.
sign, and
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and
So
it's a
especially the
keepsake.
vinyl would be cool like that.
Yeah, but to me, that means a lot. And I
Yeah,
try not to take that for, you know, take it, advantage of the fact that people they could spend their money somewhere else.
sure.
But if they want to say, "Hey, I'll buy that album for $20 from you," or
Yeah.
whatever, that's really cool.
It is, and I think it's they see the value in it. Plus, they want you to succeed. You
Yeah.
know, they like what you're doing, and they want to be able to
Hmm.
support you, so you can keep doing it, and they can keep enjoying it. I think that's a big part of it too.
Yeah,
Maybe.
for sure.
Yeah. So a little off point here, but I watch a lot of. I'm a big movie fan,
Hmm.
and my wife she plays guitar, and my daughter plays guitar and drums and whatever. She's got the bass, and
Oh, no, is she a bass player?
she plays
Ah,
everything, dude. She's got about 15 guitars, and she's always on me because we got people will say rock and roll
yeah.
when they're talking about like Nirvana.
Hmm.
She's like, no, that's not rock and roll. That's rock. And there was some dude the other day, we were watching something. He was actually singing, and he was singing like 90s music, calling it rock and roll,
Yeah.
which rock and roll really is more of the Elvis and, in my opinion, the Elvis and Johnny Cash even had a little bit of rock
Yeah.
and roll to him.
Like Carl Perkins
Yeah.
with that. Yeah. And then Johnny was in that
hmm
class for
It was,
sure.
it was like kind of right out of the doo-wop era, a bit
Jerry
of
Lee
rock and
Lewis
roll.
and,
Yeah.
hmm,
I think even Elvis or somebody was saying that they called it rock and roll because of the way people moved with it or something. I can't remember that.
yeah.
But so a lot of these movies you see, like Walk the Line,
Yeah.
that was a great movie.
Oh, yeah. Joaquin Phoenix. Great.
Yeah, he's an amazing actor all the way around. But then you go into have you seen the Elvis? I don't remember the name, but it's the most
Oh,
recent.
yes. Yeah. Austin Butler. Yeah.
Dude, he killed it. I thought he
Yes.
nailed that. And to see all that, I wonder, going back, I just wonder how close some of those things are.
Yeah.
It seems so real,
Yeah.
like how Johnny Cash kind of broke into, and he actually, he was trying to do to stay with that more religious style singing, and they're
Yeah.
like, man, this isn't what people are looking for right now, and
Hmm.
he had to break out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, and you even know, like Elvis, when he went in to audition, well, he went in to record a song, and at least the way the story goes is the fact that uh, Sam told him, if you had one song to sing, what would it be?
yeah,
Or I'm sorry, that was Johnny Cash.
yeah,
But and the same thing, like just the stories and the stuff. Elvis just went in to cut a demo, right? And how fate and everything happened. But the crazy thing is through the blessings of what I've done with my career, I've actually established some really cool connections in Memphis.
Really?
And
Yeah.
yeah, like, well, shoot, Jerry Lee Lewis and Elvis's nurse for the last 13 years of his life, I believe. I mean, I may be off a year or something on that, but literally, she keeps up with me on Facebook, and
Really? Yeah.
yeah, I mean, she'll sit and tell me stories. Tish Kirk, man, literally, uh, Elvis, just to hear like Elvis's sense of humor and the things, and hear stories about Jerry Lee Lewis ramming his car into the gates of Graceland,
I
and
know, man.
but I mean, and
That was a different that was a different type of celebrity. There's some big celebrities
yeah,
now, but back then there wasn't as many avenues. Like now you could like this particular streamer, you could like this person over here who creates this content, or you got
hmm
Mr. Beast. You got different types of so many different types of huge celebrities, but back then it was just this was, you
yeah,
had, your major actors and your major musicians, and they were almost godlike. They
yeah,
got so big.
yeah,
I can't imagine getting that. I can see where things could spiral out of control getting so big. I
yeah.
mean, there was just
And then you couldn't even go to like,
yeah,
well, literally, I guess they used to have a theme park in Memphis and Liberty Land or something like that. And so Elvis, even to go there or to the movies, like he'd have to go after hours. I'm sorry, the movies to the mall, and the stores would open up and stay late just
just
for
for him.
Elvis.
Yeah,
And because he couldn't go into public, I mean, I
yeah.
couldn't imagine, because
The,
that'd be a tough thing. I mean, y- you want to do what you do, and naturally, if you get more popular and famous, people are gonna recognize your face, your voice. But you still want to be able to go to Walmart
yeah,
and buy your stuff and look at
and
whatever
how
and not
yeah,
be
not be just
freaking pictures everywhere
overwhelmed.
and people
Yeah,
being like, "Hey, can I get your autograph and this and that?" And um,
but and then, like today, I think you can see a lot of celebrities. They can blend. They'll
yeah,
put a cap on, some sunglasses. They'll blend right in.
yeah,
But back then, there was just so few of them that
hmm
they stood out. They just their personalities stood out so much.
yeah.
Yeah, that
Well,
was a different time.
I remember it so early 2000s, probably actually like 2000 that year or one. I worked at Sonic in
Mm,
Marion, Illinois, as a cook.
yeah,
Well, one time, at one part while I worked there, I got to do some car hopping. With the little ladies and guys, they'd bring you food out to you
yeah.
while you're at your stall. And so anyhow, one particular afternoon, this bus pulls up and is right in the parking lot. Was the Ryan's parking lot. It was Ryan's buffet next door at the time. Now it's a car wash or something. I don't know. But big parking lot. This bus pulls up and this guy comes up. He's got the ball cap on and he comes up to that little front little order
Mhm.
stall right there on the patio. He orders. It was just like a cherry limeade or something. So, and I'm the one that takes it out to him. And I was like, "Are you Vince Gill?" He goes, "Yeah." And I was like, I mean, I literally was like, "Holy
Yeah,
cow!" I mean, of course he's in a ball cap, just trying to be a normal person. But I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And I think back then I just shook his hand, but I ran back inside and I was like, "Guys, that was Vince Gill."
right.
And they were like, "No, it wasn't." And I was like, "Yeah, he's walking over to his bus right now." And they're like, "No, it wasn't." It's like, "Yes, yes, it was." But anyhow, yeah, totally. But yeah, I mean, he's trying to blend in, but he still was cool.
Yeah.
He was cool.
We went to see, we went to my wife, she loves going out to watch music.
Yeah,
Sometimes it can be a little much for me because she wants to be right up there on it, man. And it's like, oh,
yeah,
now I'm like, I'm going to go for a walk because it's so much. But we went and seen Lee Bryce. He did a one man show.
yeah.
I forget he called it Me and My Guitar because it
hmm
was just him and a bunch of guitars and they were at the Carson Center.
Oh,
And he
nice.
was, yeah, I didn't realize how big a fan I was of him until I went to see him.
Yeah.
And then couple weeks ago, we went to see the band Perry. They've gotten
Oh,
back together, and they were
yeah,
at a little festival, and we went. It was, I'd say, little. It was, can't remember which one it was, but it was a pretty big,
yeah,
stage. And then we went to see, was it Rodney Atkins
yeah.
just recently at,
Was they at the Fulton
yeah,
Banana Fest?
Banana
All right,
Fest, yeah.
all right.
But watching the band Perry come back, it's
Yeah,
almost like they were on their comeback tour. And she explained some of the situation. They went through a little bit of a breakup there and back and forth, and then she told that story. Have you ever ran into? I mean, you look at celebrities and musicians, and it seems like it's almost hard for them not to get caught up in the fame. And
Yeah.
I know, I mean, I like with Elvis, you know, the drugs and alcohol, and then you look at who were we just talking about? Walk the line.
Johnny Cash.
Johnny Cash, you
Yeah.
know, and all that he went through. Did you ever have a dark time going through your music, or has it been, you know, like you said, you get to do something you really love, but did you ever run through a dark time like, am I going the wrong way, or, you
Yeah.
know?
Absolutely. And I'm sure I could if I sat and thought about the specific instances, but even just as we were talking and I was listening to you, I couldn't help but think about, you know, as much as I love what I do, if I was to sit here and like I said, my success to me isn't measured by do I get that record label or Grand Ole Opry or whatever milestone you want to put there. But if you spend your time being like, I have to, what do I need to do to get to there? Now I'm not saying don't chase after that, but like I said, in my mind, I had to realize like the chances of me making it to there, as much as I would love it, I'm not going to stop going for that. But I can't be like invest all my put all my eggs in one basket, right?
Right.
And by that I mean with my time too, because
Mhm.
like I said, we're only here for just so
Yeah.
minute little bit of time. And before you know it, like if you're sitting there constantly like, I'm gonna get to that Grand Ole Opry, I'm gonna
Yeah.
get that record label. And it's almost like if you don't stop and smell the roses before you know it, man, there's one day gone, there's another, there's a month gone, there's a year gone, three, four,
Right.
five. And it literally, I had to get to that point because for a while, every time I would put a song out, I was like, is this going to be the one? Is this going to be the one?
Yeah.
And as much as I would want that to happen, there's so many great songs that are out there
Sure.
and people never even hear them.
Yeah.
We hear the songs we hear on the radio because they are like constantly played and we only hear those songs, but that's just like you said,
Perfect timing, perfect. You got
yeah,
to be right place, right time. You got the right person to hear it. It's just, and it's even harder and harder,
yeah.
you know, now because there's so much out there, so much more out there.
hmm But it's like with any job, if you spend all your time at that job, and when you get ready to take your last breath, how much of that stuff doesn't matter at the end of the day, or if all of a sudden something is life altering and changes to where you can only do a certain amount of things with your time or your life, like
Yeah.
does it matter that I was sitting there spending ex so many extra hours messaging people that I never would even hear from? Now, like I said, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying to not do those things, but you got to balance it out because I was falling into that trap. I guess is what I would call it, to where I was blind to how much time I was spending, that there wasn't a healthy balance, that
Yeah.
I was missing out on doing things at home. I was missing doing things with friends, missing doing things for myself, even though music was for me. But I love going mountain bike riding. I love hitting the trails and riding around, laying between the lakes. I
Mm.
love jogging. I love going and going to baseball games. I love just doing other things. But I was like, well, I gotta look for this next gig. I gotta look
Yeah.
write this next song. And it's like, make time for other stuff in your life too.
Sure. I can even see that, you know, you're doing, because you keep going back to that, you get to do something you really love, something you're,
hmm
and if you get off that, if you get on that track of, you know, this is what it is to be successful, sometimes you lose the opportunity to enjoy what you lose that
Yes,
getting out there and actually having fun with it and enjoying what you're doing because you're so focused on, okay, I got to do it this way and I need these people to be
exactly.
there and I need to make this happen, where you could just go out there and enjoy
Yeah.
yourself. And usually I think that's where you're going to find your more success all around because people are going to see that, you know,
Yep.
they're going to, and that's something I wanted to talk to you before we take a little break. For me, the podcast, I really enjoy this podcast and I like talking to people, and but there'll be times when I come in to talk to somebody and I've had a hell of a day. I mean,
Yeah.
just beat down, and then you got to get in here and you got to be on, you got to try to be energetic and
Yeah.
talk, and then and then even then I'm thinking, you know, there are people out there that are watching and they're like, well, he should be over there working on a car, you know, or whatever. Why is he wasting his time? And then you get all that in your mind and it just really disrupts what you're trying to do.
hmm
You get those days when you get up on stage and you got problems, you know, you're dealing with, you got to bill that's got to be paid, or family that they're asking,
Yeah.
how do you, because you got to be on. And I look at people who act or do like shows, like the, people that on like Band Perry, and then they could have just got into a huge fight with
Yeah.
their wife or husband, and they got to walk out on stage with a big smile on their face and just, put
Yeah.
on that show. Is it going back to like what you said when you first started, that there's a character you're playing there?
Yeah. And sometimes you have to really dive into be like, I've got to act that
Yeah.
part because if I'm gonna just sit here and be honest with you, it- I'm not always perfect at it, and none of us are perfect.
No.
But there are several times where I've gotten on stage and I've not been able to separate the reality, or not reality, because it's all real. I haven't been able to separate, if we call it work and personal.
Mhm.
Sometimes I've let that personal come into me, which is great. Sometimes as an artist, if you're writing, or if you have that emotion and you direct it towards the songs you're singing, but I have failed at it,
Mhm.
and I hate that
Yeah.
because who- it's a bad reflection on me. But then the people that are spending their time, as we say, we only have so much time. They spend their time to come to see you, which is the greatest gift that somebody could give you is their time. We put aside money and all that. Like they give you their time. They want to sit there and watch you. They want to drive to see you. They want to go and spend time to go to the hotels or go to eat. And it costs money. It costs their time. And if you get up there and you're pissy, which I've been that guy, I've been pissy, and that's not fun for the person sitting in that audience. And
Yeah.
so, but luckily, I've got a lot of people that follow me that are very graceful
Yeah.
and forgiving. And so I think the good thing is like any of us, when we do know that we are in that dark area, or something keeps us from being we want to be, is that we realize that and we try to be better.
Yeah.
And and if you hurt somebody's feelings, you try to apologize and move on
Yeah. You got to.
and be better. But yeah, I've had those times where, sadly,
Yeah.
I've
You,
let things from the outside world affect me on stage.
yeah.
Yeah.
You got to be Jonathan, this person, and you got to be Jonathan here.
Yeah.
And it's hard sometimes to separate those two,
Mm-hmm.
especially when things are really so close. You're dealing with some tough times. But
Yeah.
I see that a lot. I mean, you can just see it in just about anything you deal with. You go to the restaurant and you can tell the
Yeah.
waitress anyway
Oh yeah.
she's on point or not. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's been a tough one for me because I'll come in and I just right away after getting out of some kind of issue with people that I deal with, and I come and try to do this, and then I'm trying to get it all set up, and then their guests are showing up and for me, of course, our listeners are extremely important. We want to give them what they want to hear,
Yeah.
but even more so, those people taking the time to come out here and talk to me. And we had one out of all the ones we've done so far, we've only had one that we weren't able to release,
Mm-hmm.
and it was you may even she was a judge executive for Livingston County for a while, Tara Swanson, and she came in and spent 3 hours with me, and we talked everything from politics to religion. And she's a lot younger than me, so I got a different perspective,
Mm-hmm.
and I did. I always like to try to give the my generation tends to be hard on like the Gen Z and
Yeah.
that generation. So I like to give them a chance to at least get out there and tell,
Yeah.
give them, we're not all what we think. We get on to them about, oh, you're on your phone all the time. Well, yeah, that's how their life is. Their
Yeah.
life, they can't, you can't even live life almost without one. Now, kids
Yeah.
can't go to school without, like college, without having a phone
Mm-hmm.
and internet. So I try to give them a chance, but anyhow, that's the most important thing to me is that make sure that we give the guests the best, opportunity to get out what they're wanting to say. But
Yeah.
sometimes it's really, really hard.
It
You got it.
is.
And then you're being judged constantly.
Mm-hmm.
People are. That's just part of it, right? If you're going to push yourself out there, you got to be ready for that.
Yep.
I remember when we started thinking about this like 3 years ago. And then I was like, a year after that, we finally started putting it together. And then that first time you hear your voice and you see your face on, and you're looking at every imperfection and your voice sounds so bad. And it's like, ah. And then after about 10 of them, you're like, you know what?
Yep.
Nobody's paying, I'm not that important. Nobody's paying that much attention to me anyway. So
Hey, it's like Ronnie McDowell always taught me. If it was easy, everybody'd be
everybody's
done.
doing it. Yeah. I've
Yep.
heard that throughout my life, everything I've done. So.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, we'll take a little break. You restroom? Are you
Yeah.
thirsty?
We'll take a break and we'll be back right after these
Right.
messages.
So you still get the jitters every once in a while, or is that pretty much a
Oh
thing of the
yeah,
past?
I get them all the time.
Yeah,
Because really the audience, I never know how they're gonna react. An audience, and I want them to like me, and I want them to be open to my music. Like I said, I don't mind doing covers. I mean, I'll do covers all day long. But when it comes down to the songs that I've recorded, especially if it's something I've written, um, you know, we all want people to like
sure.
us. But truth is, I mean, everybody's not gonna like me. Everybody's not gonna like you.
Yeah,
But you know what? That's why, well, especially musically, anything we all have. That's the reason why God made us all be different because you know we all
yeah,
have
yeah,
different personalities. But music wise, I'm not big on heavy metal. Doesn't mean it ain't good.
yeah. Somebody likes it, or people wouldn't do it.
Exactly. So, there's different strokes for different folks.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, literally, um, especially on those river boats.
Hmm.
Oh, every time right before I go on, I'm like, is everything going to go? All right, is everything? Because I rely on a lot of technology for stuff, especially on
Yeah,
that. Because when I perform on there, that 50s and 60s show, it's a lot of backing tracks, and so it's just me with my vocal. I put on this sparkly suit and out there.
really.
It fits the theme of the show. Um, but I'm relying on my laptop not to freeze up. So I've learned
Mhm.
over the time, like, and those are things that, like, in my mind, it'll pull me away from being that performer.
Right.
But if all of a sudden I pull out my remote clicker out of my pocket, which I try to do it like nonchalant so people don't know, I have all my tracks. The show's planned out, so like it's not like I can just pick a different song. But I put the computer where it can't be seen behind the banner, and it has a wireless clicker. But every song's set up on a PowerPoint, and so if I forget and don't turn that clicker off and
Like,
put it back in my pocket, and all of a sudden my pocket moves a certain way, or my butt hits it, it can skip to the next song, and I'm in the middle of singing that one. It's like, oh,
where am I at? How long do you get back?
uh
Yeah,
huh.
just threw everything out of time.
So it's like literally like just, yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
there's always that, but then there's the fact of, okay, are these people going to like this show that I do? Are they going to be in the mood for the jokes that I tell in this? Like,
hmm
so yeah, I always get nervous, but I like that because I take that energy and literally I couldn't just sit on a stool and just sing song, song, song. I could, but I'll get this energy in me that I have to use somehow. So it's whether I talk to the crowd, or if it's me with the band, then I kind of more will go out into the crowd and get more involved with them. But I have to do something. I can't just sit there, or literally like my leg will start shaking,
yeah,
because I got that energy and I need to do something with it. So yeah,
that's probably a big part of your show too. Probably something people expect.
yeah,
And I get the technology stuff because the whole time we're talking, I'm looking at your camera. I'm going, man, his camera looks really low. And I want to ask Tristan, is his camera too low? Tristan, is his camera too low? And then it throws me off because I'm sitting
yeah.
there going, that camera can't be right. It's got to be higher. So
Well, then I keep moving posture too. So you're
well,
probably
no,
like,
it's more of the fact of I'm just worried that there's going to be something go down. We're going to lose something. I'm not going to
uh,
make it harder, to edit or whatever. So yeah, I get that point of
yeah,
yeah, being distracted by the littlest thing.
mm-hmm.
Tristan,
There's always a reason it's harder to edit, and I have to edit anyway.
yeah.
So
So is this camera good though? Just so we can get that out of the way.
yeah, the cameras are good. I have you all lined up.
Okay, good.
I mean,
On
what if
those,
I was over here like this? Am I good?
yeah, it's all right. As long as we hear you talk. So on those riverboats, do you spend quite a bit of time out? You guys go out and
Hmm.
you're on the river for days, or how's
Yeah,
that work?
yeah. I'm considered a step on, step off act, and so for the most part, the boat is docked, and I hop on and do the show, and I hop off. Well, I'd say it's probably half and half. This time of year, I'll get on a boat. Um, I may get on a boat at Grand Rivers, and I perform. Now the boat may leave at say 6 o'clock that night. Well, my shows on there aren't until 8:30 at night. So if the boat leaves at 6 and we're headed towards Nashville, like I'm on there performing, so then I stay the night. And then we don't usually get to say like Nashville until 4 p.m. the next day. So then I get up the next day. I mean, I just spend my time on the boat. I get a guest room, but I get out, I go eat breakfast, eat lunch,
Yeah,
which it's like a big floating hotel,
sure.
and they have lots of things for people to do on the boat. And that's not like a big cruise ship like
Like
with a
Carnival.
casino and all that, and water slides. I mean,
Hmm.
it's geared towards their clientele. So their slogan is "Small Ship Cruising" done perfectly. But they've got a full restaurant on there, but it makes it nice because you got 150, 160 passengers,
Yeah,
and you spend some of those cruises are for a week. Like I was saying earlier, there's a cruise that'll go from New Orleans to Memphis. That's a 7 day cruise, roughly. There's one that'll turn around and go Memphis back to New Orleans. There's one that'll go New Orleans all the way up to Minneapolis,
yeah.
and that's like a 14 day. They've got like 21 day ones.
And you'll be on there the whole time.
No,
No.
the most I'm on is usually 4 days, and I have three different shows. So I take my story and tell one half of it with the 50s and 60s, and then I come back and have a country theme show, and I call it Country Roads, a tribute to American country music and more. And it starts out the same way. I kind of use some backing tracks and go through some 50s country, 60s, 70s. I throw in a little bit of hee haw because I loved watching that as a kid.
Yeah,
Um, and then I grab the guitar and I start to do just some different things. But then I'll start to work in some of my own music because as we're going, it's a story that starts with the 50s and it just evolves. But and then the third show is just a dance party because they love to dance, and it's a mixture of good country dance songs and pop dance songs like Mustang Sally, and I mean Wilson Pickett. That's some good stuff to dance to. The Twist, you know.
yeah.
But if something like that, I could be on for four nights and perform for 3 of the 4 nights, and which those are fun. And in that case, the boat typically will stop at a different town each day. So, say for instance, the boats that I've been doing here lately, if it starts in Chattanooga, cruise starts Chattanooga on the river, it'll go, and the next stop will be Decatur, Alabama. So then they'll get off and they'll have some different excursions. Buses pick them up and take them around. Then they bring them back to the boat. The boat will take off later that night. And then the next stop would say be Florence, Alabama, which is down by Muscle Shoals. And they'll do some stuff there. And then it moves on and stop at somewhere like Savannah, Tennessee. And then you got Grand Rivers. And then Dover, Tennessee, it'll stop there. But yeah, so like if I do a show at Dover, Tennessee, I literally just drive to Dover. The
Hmm.
boat stays parked the whole time. I get on, do my show. I pack up, get right back off the boat
Yeah,
because the boat is still there. But those are nice because then it's close to home. But yeah, there's other ones where I go down and, like I said, to Florida. I'll hop on a boat at St. Petersburg, Florida, go down to Key West, and which that ain't terrible.
that's a good gig there.
Yeah, it
Um,
is.
I went to Key West. We haven't been on vacation since we've been married.
Yeah,
We're on our 10th year, and but we went to Key West on when we did a cruise out there. I loved Key West.
yeah.
I loved it. But
Crazy how many people you see all the chickens running.
yeah, I know it's
Yeah,
crazy. We went out on a little cruise, a little excursion, and the captain of it, it was like a which we got married in October, so it was right after hurricane season, and the water was horrible.
yeah,
I mean, it was all over. And the captain, she it was a younger woman. I guess she was probably in her young 20s, but she was like, yeah, I don't know, she just she does it every day, so
yeah.
she was perfect at everything she did. But yeah, they dumped us off in the water trying to. I said, no, not for me. I'm getting back on board.
Get back on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we were supposed to be trying to scuba dive or snorkel. I'm like, yeah, not going to happen today, but
yeah.
it was still. I love that area down there. So when you go down there, so how do you stay out a lot though? I mean, because you're on the road all the time. Do you
Hmm.
spend a lot of time in hotels or do
Yeah,
you just try to schedule it so you can get back home every?
I do. I try to be home as much as possible, and that's the thing. Uh, as I get older, I like being home. I used to go down to the Rio Grande Valley of Texas every January and February, and that's all the way down by Mexico border. So That's a good long ways, and then I'd have to be there 3, 4, 5 weeks to make it worthwhile. And it literally just it got to where I was like, I don't want to be gone from home this long, you know.
Yeah.
Now I'll do about 2 weeks. That's about enough for me.
Yeah.
And even then, I'm like, give me about 5 days. I'm ready to go home. But
Yeah.
I still love, like I go to Florida, and I'll do the river boats there. Well, I guess I don't know, they're not really called river boats. They're coastal cats, is what they're called because they go along the coast. But I used to do shows in Florida, uh, quite a bit, so I've got some fans down there. So it's always nice when I go and do the boats in Florida. I'll try to do a public gig on land where people can come see me, and so I still enjoy going to see people. I still love going, and anytime I can go and do a show and see beauty, like nature, I love.
Hmm.
So a couple weeks ago, I did a little bar and grill. I mean, I do bar and grills, I do all kinds of stuff, but um, there was is in Eastern Tennessee, and there was I can't even remember the name of the falls, but it was gorgeous. It literally was like 5 minutes from the venue that I played at, and
Yeah.
I mean, gorgeous waterfalls. I wish I could think of the name of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I love going, being able to have time to do stuff like that, and I encourage anybody that can get out and travel to do that. And even a couple hours away from Paducah, you can see so many great things,
Yeah.
like on the other side of Bowling Green and all the caves. Like, oh, there's so much beauty, and you know, experience that stuff if you can. You know,
Yeah, that's one of the benefits of being able to get out. If I did some travel, different times and different types of work, and I'd always try to just and especially when you got GPS. When
yeah,
I remember when we first, GPS started coming in, all you had to do, you could go in, you just start driving, and
yeah,
you could always find your way back. So
yeah.
you could always it would always take you back. So
Hmm.
you can just do some exploring there. Um, so family wise, are you married and kids and
No,
no?
no.
That makes it a little easier, I guess.
It does. Yeah, not to get too personal, but I mean, at one point in my life, I was married at a very young age, and uh, that that
Inspired a lot of songs, maybe.
well, no, I don't know. That was right when I was coming out of my shell, and
Yeah,
finding out who I was, and it just I thought I went through a breakup, and and the crazy thing is, I thought, oh, I don't want to be alone, so I better get married. And it's one of them deals like, well, I'll get married because I don't want to be alone. And I'm 20, 22, 23 years old, thinking I don't want to be alone the rest of my life, so I better hurry up and get married, right?
yeah,
And but I wasn't ready, and so um, it was a great lady that I married, but it just wasn't for me, and I wanted to follow my dream,
yeah.
in a nutshell, and so. Uh, Things
Things
don't
change.
always just work out.
Yeah,
So, but we didn't have any children, and so that made it really easy.
sure.
I mean, I won't say it was easy, but
Yeah,
that was a lot easier. Had I been a father, that might have been a little bit, you know, I may
sure.
have looked at things a little differently. But
Well, being that you too have to, you're going to get that feeling of, am I being selfish? Am I not spending enough
yeah,
time? Things like that. So
hmm
those things would play a part. But I guess you definitely don't ever have to worry about being lonely. You're in front of, people every day of your life, pretty
yeah.
much. Yeah.
But I mean, I could. There's been times in the past where I've been in crowds of people and then did feel lonely because
Yeah.
you don't have that
Connection.
yeah. And it was back during the COVID times when I was traveling. At that time I still lived in Illinois. Well, Illinois I couldn't find work, so I was having to go to Texas, Tennessee, Missouri, places where businesses were still open. And
Yeah, I've seen where you did some like backyard stuff and
oh
maybe
yeah,
some
I tried to be
online.
creative. I did this thing called tunes and tailgates, and
Mhm.
that developed into a weekly thing, which yeah, then it's like, well, how do I make it bigger? Well, then next thing you know, I started doing videos with fire department, fire trucks, and police officers, and semis and tractors. And next thing you know, I'm driving a tractor in this, and then it became like I'm editing these videos, and I mean, it was a lot of work, but There was times where I would be so busy out on the road that I wasn't home. I didn't have that home base, that consistent home base to come home to, and I'd be so lonely.
Mm.
Um, and I think it was more so just being homesick of being like, all my friends and people that I was close to at home, they had normal lives,
Yeah.
and they were getting to work that. I remember when I was a teacher, man, that was some good stuff. Having those summers off, and but also, being like, oh, it's quitting time, going home and being like, what's for dinner, and what we're gonna watch on TV
Right.
tonight and stuff like that, and like that's why I love being home as much as I can now.
Yeah.
So I try to balance. I'm if I'm gonna take a booking and get a gig somewhere, I mean it's gotta make sense. I love going out to Eastern Tennessee. I love the Smoky Mountains, so I'll take a lot of opportunities to do that. But still, at the same time, I get a message, hey, this venue wants you that's real close to Sevierville, Tennessee, which is close to Pigeon Forge. And I'm like, all right, but if I do it, I need to add three or four other gigs with it to make it worthwhile. And I just don't know that I want to go and be 4 or 5 days away
Yeah.
from home when I just did 4 or 5 days of this here. So, as I get older, I'm like, nah, I don't just stay closer to home.
Well, it's also probably nice that you have that opportunity that if you need to take the time, you
Yeah.
can. You can just
And
go
it's
right
great
to your
too to
day.
have the local venues, um, like Purple Toad Winery. They're good to me. Um, Places like Strickland Seafoods, they'll let me pop out and do originals and stuff out there, or the Joint in Eddyville, Kentucky. I play out there. Or just I mean, just having venues that I can play at locally, and then I do the gig and go right back home.
Right.
So that's very nice. So
One of the questions I had, and I noticed you. Does a lot of your gigs like one man thing, or do you just pick up people from the area? I know Kevin,
yeah,
some of those guys. I've seen you play with them, but I don't know how do you pull that off. You have to coordinate with local bands, or
yeah. So most of what I do is a one man show, which I actually have a song about that. Well, that's the title of it. It's not about singing one man show. But most of what I do is a one man show. It's just me and my guitar, or I'm doing the shows on the river boats, which those are all one man shows. But what I've been trying to do is, I used to work with a band out of Memphis, Tennessee area, Double Edge band, and they're phenomenal musicians. Uh, but I had venues locally here in the Western Kentucky area that were like, "Hey, we want you with a band." And so I'd be like, okay, all right, well, bring this band from Memphis. Well, there's cost in that.
yeah.
Memphis is a little bit of a haul, and you're wanting, you know, a band, you're gonna pay them $500-600. Well, I can't get those guys to come up from Memphis, Tennessee. So basically, what happened was I wanted a local band, and so we put together the Johnathan Len band,
Hmm.
and it really, when I go and travel somewhere else, if it's a big festival or something, I'd just be like, hey, I want to bring my band. But for the most part, if I travel away and go to Eastern Tennessee or Mississippi or anywhere like that, and it's just gonna be me. But if it's something within probably 2 hours away from here, and it's a band,
Hmm.
then I'll take the Jonathan Lynn band. Or if I'm down by Memphis or somewhere close to that, then I'll use the Double Edge band. But yeah, really, the Jonathan Lynn band is just kind of a local,
Group
like,
of guys that you can call on when you
yeah,
need them.
yeah, because some of them still work other jobs, and but yeah, but then if you get, I might love to take a band with me out on the road, but
Yeah,
when a
it's an
venue,
expense.
exactly, you got your hotels, you get all this, but we go up to Cape Girardeau, we do the casino up there, we play like the Elks Lodge and stuff like that. We played the casino up in Carterville, Illinois.
Hmm.
But we go to Red Bowling Springs, Tennessee, which is shoot, that's a little bit of a haul, but it's a really cool place called the Donahoe Hotel. It's like going back in time. It's a very just literally there's no TVs in the hotel rooms,
Really?
and so it's like you got all these rocking chairs out on the front porch, and people just really they sit around. It used to be like, gosh, they had all these natural springs and waters that would come up, and so they said it back in the day for like small town, it would be like a Pigeon Forge for a small town because they had all these little like bowling alleys and concert areas, and people would come for the natural healing of these waters. And so, but it's definitely not that anymore. As we all know, small town America has kind of died off, but it still has its charm. And you
Yeah.
got this old hotel, and people love it. And they got a great restaurant on site, and they got a big entertainment center, and that's where we do the shows. But yeah, I take the band down there. We have a good time. The guys all love it because it's kind of like an escape. I mean, you don't need the TVs while you're down there.
There's too much else to do.
Yeah, there's just too much, and people, everybody's just super friendly. I mean, everybody sits at the same. It's like family style at the
Yeah.
restaurant, and they bring the food out to you, and you're sitting there chit chatting with everybody, and then if they're not after the show, everybody's sitting out on front porch, and it's just that's.
Can I pull the mic a little closer to you? I think you can just put it
Oh,
more.
I'm getting too far away.
Just a little bit closer. Well, I think it's the echo is what I'm worried about.
Oh, well, there we
Um,
go. It's like
but
it's pictured down here, is what it is.
yeah, nothing.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah, it's
where's
kind of
that
weird.
at?
It's like, yeah, I don't know. It's just, that's something I had in my shop. I brought it down here and put it in
Oh,
somewhere. Yeah, it's kind of cool.
yeah, but nobody can see it.
No, I
I mean,
haven't.
I'm down here talking about a picture, and everybody be
Yeah.
like, "What?"
Well, I was gonna have it behind, but then it distracts. It's just weird. I got to find the right spot for it. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's cool. That's something, and that's something I was going to talk about. Was kind of we deal with a lot of the same type of, well, 50s, 60s. I do. That's what I do. Cars, 50s, 60s, 70s are primarily what I work with. I'm a little concerned. 10 years from now,
yeah,
because a lot of the new generations, and it's not anything. It's just they choose. They're not as interested in that as
hmm,
growing. Those older cars just aren't appealing to that Gen
really?
Z. Yeah, and I guess here's the thing: when I was a kid, teenager, getting to high school, you want to get the most important thing you had to do is get your driver's license,
Yeah,
and then you got to get a beater, whatever you could find.
yeah,
And it always had to be that, I was always the guy that had to find the car and fix it and keep it running, and it was smoking,
yeah,
and then there's the kids that had the money, they had the cool cars. But that was the thing. You had to get a car because if you didn't have a car, you didn't have a girl.
yeah,
That girl and the girl would like a whole car. Well, they don't. The new generations, they just, if it doesn't have a big screen in it, and I'm not knocking that. That's
yeah,
them. That's what they like. If it doesn't got a big screen and it can't drive itself or something, it's not as interesting to them.
yeah.
Now, I will say there's still, small town country. You're going to still see the old, trucks and stuff
Oh
like
yeah,
that, but it is changing, and it's and I've seen everything from like the Model A's and the Model T's being
yeah,
popular. You very rarely see any of those anymore. And then the Tri-Fives, 56, 56, 55, 56, 57
yeah,
Chevys. And then you start seeing them kind of fade away. Now you're starting to see a lot of the 60s and 70s cars come in.
yeah,
And it's just as those generations kind of come in and then fade out, and then grandpa's truck, kind of thing.
yeah,
But eventually, and then you get into the 80s. I'm seeing a little bit of that, but then the cars kind of petered out after that. So
yeah,
I'm wondering what this, where I'm going to be in 10 years. I'm hopefully going to be on a beach somewhere.
yeah.
That's what I want. But I wonder how that industry's going. Do you see a lot of new generation coming into what you're doing and you're in the style of music you do?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of like if you listen to newer country, which for me as an artist, heavily influenced by like the rock and roll in the 50s, 60s, even the Motown style. I mean, I love
Yeah,
Motown,
me too.
but I gear myself more towards a country artist now. Like it's like country with an edge, because I got that rock edge or that blues feel to it. But um, I see a lot of people resorting back to they like the 80s and 90s country
Yeah, yeah,
feel.
it's huge. The 80s,
Um,
90s country.
yeah. And so even
I
when I
even I'm a big fan of that 90s rock,
yeah.
stuff
Oh,
like that.
yes, for sure.
That
But
was kind of my favorite group, favorite.
I think even like there's an artist Zach Top that is making huge waves right now, but he's more of that traditional country, and I think that's what people kind of miss. And it's like the certain things making their comeback, like that style of music people miss. Well, then we look at like vinyl records. Look, that's stuff you see more of that on the shelves, and for whatever reason, I think it's super cool. Is it the nostalgic purpose, or is it the sound because you get that those crackling and popping sounds? I don't know, but whatever it is, I think it's cool that people still, look back and be like, "Oh, we like this, we like that from those days." For me personally, I love the fact that some music, like people like Megan Trainor, she's big on making the music she does, like all about that bass or Dear Future Husband. So if you listen to those songs, it very reminiscent of the 1950s and 60s pop stuff, which I think is super cool. But it's modern, you know. But it gives it that catchy groove, which is what the music was back then. It was super catchy. Um, and so actually, recently just released a song, um, and when I wrote it from a personal standpoint, like 1000%. It's called My Own Worst Enemy. And literally was back this spring. I was headed to go do a riverboat, and I was headed down towards Vicksburg, Mississippi to get on a boat. And for whatever reason, I mean, I was in like a great mood when I got in the car, and something come over, and you know, at times I struggle with things from my past, and literally that's what happened. Like something from my past came in, and it completely changed my mood. And I heard a song that reminded me of like a '60s feel, and so I was like, man, all of a sudden the words come to me. I'm my own worst enemy. And I was like, man, if I just look in the mirror, let's see, my own worst enemy is looking right back at me. And so I instantly, in my mind, I had this thought of Little Peggy Martz. And I don't know if you know who that is or that name, but she has a song goes, I will follow him wherever. Well, anyhow, the song starts off and it's like da 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 da, and then like all these instrument, like this big string sounding behind it. And so I literally was like, I I envision music like that in behind this, and I'd always wanted to take a song and be like Megan Trainor and be like 50s or 60s pop feel. And so, anyhow, literally, so when I write songs, I mean, it didn't take me long to write this thing. So it's just me. I grab my phone, I record it, I send it to my producer, and I just start sending them notes and stuff. And so I literally am playing it, and I was like, look, I kind of want this '60s pop feel of like, and I just did it with my mouth. I was like, dun, 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 dun. And I was like, I know that sounds weird because I literally was like singing that to him. And I was like, but I want an instrument to do this. And he's like, all right, I'm feeling you. And we literally went back and forth like that. And next thing I know, the production come out and it's like, oh, it's
Exactly what you were
literally.
trying to
And so
do.
it has that '60s feel to it. And people are loving it because the music is super catchy. But then they're finding that they're able to relate to the lyrics so much because that's the truth with all of us. If we let ourselves get to us, like
Sure.
I mean, and one of the lyrics says, well, it starts off, it says, let me introduce myself. I think you know me all too well. I'll try to play it cool, but deep inside of you, I'm a jagged little pill. So it's like, hey, I'm gonna introduce, like, people look, they're like, so we're confused. Like, I had one guy say, I'm confused, like, who is it? And I'm like, it's me speaking to myself. It's kind of like a poetic way of me saying, hey, I'm gonna have a talk with myself because we all have that own worst enemy
Yeah.
inside us that can be like make your day crappy. You could be in a really great mood and then all of a sudden you're crappy. Why? Because you let your mind get in your way or you overthought something, and next thing you know, like it'll ruin your day. And so there's even a verse. The verse in there says, "When I walk into the room, I can change any mood. I can take you glad, make you sad, or even make you mad. But the choice is up to you." So it's the choice is up to us. How do we take that and let it ruin our day? Do we let it bring us into where we're supposed to do a podcast and we had such a crappy day, whether it's somebody else that does it or ourselves that internally we whatever, you know, the choice is up to you. Do you let it affect you the rest of your day and ruin your mood? Or do you kick it to the curb and say, nah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna enjoy this day and I'm gonna make the best of it, but
Yeah. I'm a firm
so
believer in to know yourself is to know your enemy. You
yeah,
know, to know this is who what I need to accept. This is who I am, and this is what I am.
yeah.
And once you accept that, then you can put that out there in front of you. You can say, no, 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 no. I know this is where I'm going to go with this, but I'm going to make the conscious decision not to,
Hmm.
because I know who I am. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I run into that a lot too. But I see, I see that there's a show called The Peaky Blinders. I
Okay.
fell in love with it, man. I named one of my companies after it.
Really?
Yeah, but it talk if you I can't believe you if you haven't seen it, I can't believe
It's
it.
called the Pinky
The Peaky Blinders.
Peaky Blinders. All right.
Yeah, it's on Netflix or anyway, you can find it. It's got
Okay.
and it talks about a group of young the Peaky Blinders was a real thing back in like the 19 early 1900s, like 1909 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they young boys, and they actually they called them the Peaky Blinders because they had the little caps and they put a razor blade right there,
Yeah.
and that's what they would use, and they would blind people. You know,
Oh.
they were a little gang. But there's a scene where Tommy Shelby, he's like the leader of the family, the Shelbys, and then he's kind of that quiet. He's played by Cillian Murphy.
Yeah.
Does
Okay.
a great job. But I would highly recommend it.
All
But
right. I'll Google that one.
yeah, Dev, you're
I'll
gonna
Google
love
it
it.
and find out where I can watch it.
Yeah, the get through the first season, you know, the first two episodes, but after that is perfect.
Yeah.
And anyways, there's this scene. He's he's keeping the family, and he's this constant, real quiet and brooding kind of guy. And the housekeeper comes in and she says, "Are you okay, Mr. Shelby?" And he says, "Yeah, Alice, it's just me talking to me complaining to myself about myself."
Yeah.
You know, and that really hit home when he said
Mm-hmm.
that. You know that you get into that mindset. You know, music is one of those things. I tell my kids this, and I said, be careful what music you listen to all the time. It's
Yeah.
good music, every kind of music, but if you allow yourself that music, man, you can get into some of those songs and put you in a mood
Yeah.
of, it's just eh, if you don't get yourself out of it, you know, I guess it just makes you think, like you said, you
Yeah.
kind of makes you think of things in your past or things that you've done,
Mm-hmm.
and then the next one you're like, yeah, and then you start
Yeah.
down that aisle. So you
You
gotta
can you can find a song for to fit any mood,
and
But
or a song to put you in any mood.
yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
for sure.
and something else about those lyrics, everybody can. Somebody was talking about. I don't know if it was the band Perry or Atkins. They were talking about how they can sing. You know, a song can be sung, and people will take the lyrics. It can mean something different to the artist, and it can mean something different for this person, and they're all hearing it at the same time, but they can use those lyrics and put it into their life. And one of those that really threw me, one of my favorite songs is the Goo Goo Dolls, and they
Yeah.
sing. I'm trying to Iris.
Iris. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I heard him talking about that one time. You know, there's some really cool lyrics in there, and you're like, "Oh, I wonder how this, and what
Yeah.
this, and what was he thinking?" And it's funny because he interviewed, and he's like, "Yeah, they needed a song, and I just threw some lyrics together, and then
Wow, and that became a
and
staple for them.
it didn't mean anything to him
Yeah.
that song, but then to so many people,
Hmm.
they
You know,
put those words mean something to them.
yeah. When I was a kid, Elvis had a song. Well, it's still a song, but I heard the words of this song and it spoke about a dream, right? And so, it's like we may not know what we're listening to, and the lyric of it went way deep, but I thought that'd be my theme song, outside of all shook up being nervous. But as a kid having a dream to be a singer, the song of Elvis is from 1968. I was like, that's my song, right? And my mother's like, son, that has nothing to do with a 5-year old's dream to sing. And I was like, what? It's about a dream. I'm like, yeah, it is. And as I got older, I realized, she's absolutely right. You dig into the meaning of the lyric. Well, this song was released after the passing of Brother Kennedy and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And Elvis did it on his 1968 comeback special. And even to this day, it's a song that really just resonates in a person's inner being. But it's called "If I Can Dream," and huge song for Elvis. And everybody can see that video of him where he swings his arm and he gets so emotional with it because it's the lyric is about a man, and I think it's still so fitting even for 2025. And it was so much that 2 years ago I recorded a version of it. And but the fact is there's so many people. We're all just trying to do the best we can in this world, and we're not all going to get along. We're not all going to have the same opinion. We're not going to have the same beliefs. But the if we could put aside all that, there's such a division. I'm not a political person. I don't like politics at all. But everything's divided. It doesn't take rocket science to figure out it's left against right and blue and red. But I very much am a patriotic person. I love my country. I got military in my family and just different people that I've come in contact with. Our veterans fight for our freedoms so that we can follow our dreams, whether it be to sing, have an auto shop, podcast, teaching, whatever it might be. We get to do that here in the United States and we get to do it freely because of those currently serving. And I wholeheartedly believe in those that are serving for our freedoms. And the people, I wish we could just be like the lyric of that song, If I Can Dream, where it says, If I could dream of a better land where all my brothers walk hand in hand. So instead of tearing each other down and being like, my way's right, this way's right, let's just, if we could just figure out a way to come together and just lift up the common good of mankind.
Hmm.
Because, like I said, no, we're not all going to get along.
Hmm.
And if you really can't get along with somebody, the great thing is
You
you
don't
can
have
go
to.
the other way.
Yeah, you don't have to.
Yeah.
I've been on that for a while. I don't do a lot of politics either, because I feel like I'm really right down the middle, man.
Yeah.
And I said that there's no way I can see a way forward for our country until we start figuring a way to unify.
Hmm.
And I keep telling people my opinion, is that we got to go. Okay, me and you don't agree on this. Okay, well, let's go
Yeah.
backward. You don't agree. Okay, and then we get to a point where it's like, babies are need food, and we're like, okay, yeah, babies need food. We'll agree on that. So, okay, so now we got something. Now let's start moving forward.
Yes.
But you can't just go to those really hard topics and say there's you, because it always ends up. I'm not trying to convince you to come over to my side. I'm
Yep.
just trying to show you you're wrong and I'm right.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter which side you're on.
Yep.
That's what it tends to be. So until we're able to, and music and even movies and things like that, those are things that I think that we can come together
Yeah. I was going to say
on.
music, movies, those things unify
Art
people.
art in general,
Yeah.
just it is something that we can come together on. We don't have to agree on everything in the world out there, but we can sit there and listen to the song and say, relate to it in our own way. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think that the until we find that unification, and this both sides have got to quit tearing the other side apart. And
Yes.
we can't just stand up and go, look at what I did and you're a piece of crap.
Hmm.
Because that's not getting them. We got to
No.
be together. And I'll tell you what, the rest of the world's watching and
Yeah.
they see that weakness in us.
Yeah.
So
And
anyhow,
that's
that's,
stuff we can do right here in our front porches.
you
People we
know,
run into here in Paducah, Kentucky.
absolutely. And here's the one thing I'm going to share this because it just it come to my mind because you said that and it had something to do with music. It wasn't too long, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I had this person on my Facebook, and I don't know how we ended up being. I don't even know the guy. I don't know
Yeah.
how we ended up being friends. And I was just flipping through, and he had put it was I think it was John Lennon's. Either it was his birthday or the year he was killed,
Yeah.
or the day he was killed. And this guy got on there, and of course, claiming to be Christian and all this, and he's like, yeah, ha ha, must be, what does he say? What is the, what is the John Lennon's big song? Believe,
Imagine.
imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said, I can imagine you're feeling the fires of hell right now. I'm like,
Oh.
Jesus, man, why would you say such a
Yeah.
horrible thing, even if it was true, even if there was such a thing for it to happen? And it just it put something inside. It put something inside me that just made me uh, kind of, I don't know, just really took it was a blow. It was a
Yeah.
blow
Well, yeah.
to what I feel humanity should be, and whether you agree with that person's way of life or not. I mean,
Yeah.
what's the point of doing that? What was the point of doing that other than to spread hate and
Yeah.
try to get other people to hate? And,
If we could all go back to the golden rule, doing to others to be done unto yourself.
yeah,
And like I say, go back to let's back up. Do we agree? Oh, everybody should
we
maybe
should
should
not
have
on the
food.
spot. Yeah,
But why can't we just all remember the simple thing of if you don't have something nice to say, don't say
say
anything
anything
at
at
all.
all.
Because if you said something right now, if you were like, your music's crap, well, it's like I
I would
said earlier,
see.
I don't like heavy metal music.
Yeah,
Doesn't mean it's bad.
right.
But you know what? I'm not going to go and spend my money to go listen to it, but it doesn't mean it's bad. I
And you're not going to spend
this
your
guy
money
over
to
here,
you're not going to spend your money to go there and say your music sucks
exactly.
either. Let them
So like,
enjoy it.
but other people do, and it doesn't mean they're wrong for liking it.
Yeah, that's
But
a big thing in cars. So
yeah,
I call them car snobs. And I got one that works for me. My painter, he's a good friend of mine, but he's a Camaro and it's got to have this motor and it's got to have this, got to have this. You can't change anything about it. It's this is
That wouldn't be American to do that to a
yeah.
Camaro like
And
that.
I'm like, man, I don't care if the kid wants a lowered truck or if he wants a hoopty, El Camino. I don't care whatever if they're into cars, I like it because
Yeah.
they're into cars. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It could be a Honda Civic with a 4-cylinder. I don't care if the dude loves it.
Yeah.
Then all for him, man. I'm great. You're into cars. That's cool. We are all car guys, and that's kind of I think we got to look at the world.
Yeah.
We're all out here just trying to get by,
Yeah.
and I don't see everybody. I don't see the evil that people see. I
Yeah.
don't think that everyone out there is doing what they're doing because they're evil. They're just. I really believe that most of them are doing because they think it's right. They
Yeah.
think they're doing the right thing, and sometimes maybe misguided. But anyways, like you said, we don't want to get too far off on this
Yeah.
on politics because that's yeah, we'd be here all night. But I
Hmm.
will say this, and I haven't said this on the podcast yet. I read the Bible several times, the King James version, and I used to debate it quite a bit at one point in my life. And one of the only commandments that Christ gave was love each other as I've loved you.
Hmm.
That was really, I mean, he didn't say don't lie. He didn't get into any of the big sin stuff. Christ himself didn't.
Yeah.
That was the one he says, this is my
Yes.
commandment. He said, this is my commandment. And so this is like the one that he puts up there.
Yep.
Love each other as I've loved you. Love each other as I've loved you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we could live by that a little bit, I think we'd get a lot further along in
Yeah.
life. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
But
Simply
anyhow,
instead of beating each other down,
yeah.
lift each other up.
You're going places you've never been before, on top of the charts, and so much more. Hold on tight to all of your dreams. Reach for the stars, they're not as far as they seem. So give a little bit of your heart and soul, whether it's country or rock and roll. You sing about love, sing about the one that you adore. Sing about where home is, what you're looking for. Go from town to town and from bar to bar, if that's what it takes to show who you are. Above all else, always be true, 'cause in this world there's only one you. So give a little bit of your heart and soul, whether it's country or rock and roll. Sing about love, sing about the one that you adore. Sing about where home is, what you're looking for.
So I just kind of shortened it up. But as that second verse says, you go from town to town and bar to bar if that's what it takes to show who you are. And above all else, always be true, because in this world there's only one you. That's what I say. It doesn't, even though the title of the song's called a singer's song, it really, it just comes down, like I said, whatever it is you have in a dream, chase it. Be who you are.
Yeah, I think that song hit just right, man.
Yeah.
It's like the whole theme of the whole podcast.
Things that's going on.
No, come on,
Yeah, there
Joe.
you go. No, I'm saying that you hit it just right. That song was like the theme of the podcast.
Yeah.
Was finding yourself, be who you are, and
Hmm.
I mean you could put it like we were just talking that you could take those lyrics and they mean something to you as the writer.
Yeah.
I can sit there and listen to what you're saying, and you're saying, you're talking about singing and things, but I put it into perspective of my life,
Yes.
and yeah, it was a perfect song for the podcast.
Yeah.
Well done. That was a beautiful song. Yeah, almost emotional, man. I have to. Jeez, maybe it's just late in the or early in the morning, I guess
Yeah.
now. So
Hmm.
well done. Well, man, and it's I think we got what 2.5 hours in, Tristan, something like that. Yeah. So yeah, I really appreciate it. It's been one of the best ones, and you're the first one to actually play
Yeah.
on the podcast. So I hope that all turns out really good.
Well, I hope it does too.
And Piston will be reaching out to you, getting all your, I think we got your website and all that too. But and
Okay.
hoping help move that forward. And the one thing about this podcast, man, it's going to be there forever. So
Yeah.
you'll be able to. I did want to ask you though, do you are you on like some of the streaming? Because I seen you had something like you had 1 million streams or something like that.
Yeah. So actually now it's over two and a half. I think 2.5 million on Spotify.
Okay.
Which if you're somebody like Taylor Swift, that's nothing. But as an independent artist, like I said, it just started off grassroots. And to see the music grow. So collectively, all the songs that I've released is like 2.5 million. But when you were seeing about the 1 minute, that was just the songs of mine that I had written. Which I thought was a huge milestone. And one of them is a love song called "You're All I Need." That's probably the one that's doing the best right now. That's been out the longest, but I think over 110 different countries now that it's been streamed in. And that's just on Spotify. That's what I'm talking about with these numbers. But another one, "Hugging and Kissing," that's doing very well. It's just a cute little song about all I want is your hugging and kissing, talking about your loved one. But then that one, "My Own Worst Enemy," it just released in 2 weeks ago, which I don't know when this will actually air, but it released.
Yeah, we'll be putting it. So what we got 3 week. It'll be 3 weeks from now.
Yeah.
So two.
So
Yeah.
so 5 weeks ago.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, so it's doing very well, which I like that, the fact that the songs that I'm actually writing myself. Now I don't. If I hear a song that somebody else has written that I want to record, like absolutely.
Hmm.
But it has to mean something to me. Um, So, but "You're All I Need," that's my baby. Um, my songs are my kids. I don't have any
Yeah.
kids myself, so my songs are my
Yeah.
kids, and I'm gonna treat them right. And hopefully, as I get older,
Well,
they can take care of me.
you married your art and you had kids.
Yep,
Yeah.
there we go.
That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely want to check out all those songs and start. I didn't do a lot. I didn't want to get into. I want to know something about the people I'm bringing them in, but I want to learn stuff when they come in. So when you come in, I get to learn about what you're really doing. So now that I've got that down, I'm gonna hammer down on your Spotify. I'll give you one more stream.
Yeah.
That'll really do it. But anyways, good luck to you, and you're an inspiration. I mean, you probably don't realize it, but there's so few people out there that they want to reach out, they want to take a chance, they want to take a swing, but it's hard, and in the world that we live in, especially, it gets harder and harder when the cost of living goes up, and people are worried, and the kid and family, and but just to take a swing at something, and like you said, it would be awesome to stand in the Grand Ole Opry and or have a number one hit, nationwide or worldwide. But to be able to just go out and do something you love, that's the success.
Exactly.
And so people can make those smaller moves. They don't have to. I think sometimes we think that if we don't go this to this big level, that there's no point. But the
Yep.
point is, you get to do something you love. It's like this. I mean, this podcast, we may not ever get to the Joe Rogan, even though Joe Rogan's a big fan of our show.
Yeah.
No,
Oh, I was
no,
like, "Nah, what?
yeah, no.
Really?"
I'm a big fan of Joe Rogan's show. I got it backward. Um, but I just enjoy doing it, and
Yeah.
hearing you talk and the things that you've done with your life, it's inspiring to say, you don't have to go out and it could happen. Anybody could make it. It could be just one stream that hit the right time and
Yeah.
right place. But at the same time, if you get to go out and do what you love to do, you enjoy yourself, and you feel like you're contributing something to the world, that's success.
Yep.
That is the ultimate success, I think, right there.
So it's all about how does a person measure success?
Yeah, yeah. So congratulations on all your success, and I
Oh,
hope
thank
it
you.
keeps going. And yeah, and all the shows you got. Anybody wants to see you, there's going to be an opportunity. You are all over the place,
Yeah.
and lots of opportunities there. So thanks again, man. I'm glad we were able to do it. Now I'll keep. I won't be on saying, "Hey, keep me on your radar."
Yeah.
But I will have you back. I mean,
right.
yeah, we definitely want to get you back in
Yeah.
and
We can do a part 2.
absolutely get more details on. I'd really like to get back into the early days, like when you were coming out to, again, like you said, with the. I want to get into some of the people that kind of inspired you. You talked about some of the people you actually directly,
Yeah.
but I'd like to know, like, who would you, if you could duet with someone, who would
Yeah.
that be?
Yeah.
Who would that, and what's the future?
Yeah.
Are you going to sing for the next 30 years or where that's going? So,
So stay tuned
yeah, man.
because there could be a part 2 where you could learn a whole lot more.
Yeah. More behind the scenes with Johnathan Len.
That's right.
All right, buddy. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
We're going to go home, go to bed, and get ready to go to work in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, bub. Thank you.
Thank you.
What exactly happened down there?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I talked to him and blah, blah, blah. He asked about you guys and da-da-da-da-da, more questions, blah,